Okay. Well, I want to welcome you to the program. This is StrongWriter on the radio, and I'm your host, Dean Olson. And this lovely lady you see with me on the screen over there, for those watching, is a singer and actress who you must have seen on one medium, if not the other. She is, let's see here. She was nominated for a Grammy as a recording artist. She has sung and acted on the stage on and off Broadway, and acted in movies, I think, but it's the small screen where she gained notoriety and national exposure on a few different series, including the one at the top of the list, ABC TV's Mr. Belvedere. And you'll recognize her as the mom. What was your name on the show? Owens?
Marsha Owens.
Marsha Owens from Mr. Belvedere. And it's a real pleasure to get the chance to talk with the one and only Ilene Graff. And there she is. Hi, Ilene. Welcome to my show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is the only audience I have right here to clap. So
it's okay. I've been doing, as we all have been doing, so many Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
And instead of stepping over each other constantly with talking and whatever, whenever we approve something,
you noticed.
Taken to doing this.
You noticed that. Yeah, that's the one thing that bugs me is that I feel for the guest that I might start talking over them, and that's unintentional. I think it's just a technology glitch. You know, you'd rather be in the same room, but nowadays we can't do that, huh?
No, but you know, in normal conversation, we don't wait all the time until the person is finished talking. We talk over, and I'm from New York. We talk over each other all the time.
Really?
But oh yeah, you can barely finish a sentence. In my family, you get halfway through a sentence, someone's finishing your sentence, someone is saying, no, that's not how it was. Oh no, I go this way. No. So it's something I'm kind of used to.
Well, having grown up here all my life, my selective memory tells me different. I mean, I just noticed this as a recent phenomenon, is that, you know, you go on talk shows and everybody's just they're not waiting. It's all, you know, rapid fire, and you got to get that thought out of your head quickly and start talking before, you know, and don't wait for the other person to finish. I try to do that on my show to make sure that, you know, I'm not talking, but I do like a little crosstalk here and there. It makes it natural, you know.
Yeah. You know, that when I first started doing television and film, when it used to be all the time, but not so much anymore. You were not allowed to talk over anybody else because it would make the sound editor's life miserable. It's
right.
Your shot, it's your scene. We need to get your lines clear. And if I start talking before you're done, it destroys the soundtrack. They don't know how to work it. So when we finish a line, and then you don't start your next line until that person's line is done, and then you can start your line. Now there's a lot more freedom. I haven't done anything recently where that was so strict, but when I first started, it was something that I had to learn, because coming from stage, which is completely natural, you talk the way you talk, you just talk a little louder. It was a technique that I had to make sure that I respected.
And as far as scripted TV, I mean, it's for continuity, right? So that they, you know, if they could edit the line together if they had to, but you still have to perform it to the letter, right? You have to do it properly.
Yes, that was another thing. I learned that during my last Broadway show, where you don't paraphrase on stage. You know, you learn the line. Somebody worked and slaved over every single line in that script.
Right. You
owe it to them to say the lines that they've written. I found that in some film and TV stuff, they're super, super strict. Every single word has to be exactly perfect. And in other projects, there has been a certain looseness, so that if you blew a word or wasn't exactly perfect, they were willing to let it go. I try very hard to be perfect, just out of respect to the writers. But sometimes you goof and you don't want to ruin an entire take because you said one wrong word or, you know, something. And sometimes they'll let it go, sometimes they won't.
Right. Yeah, flubbing is a different story, but you know, if you said the line completely wrong, the right, and they tried to leave it in, I think you think the writer would be offended or something, or he'd say, hey, listen, that was my line. That was the big sell. I was really going to do this.
Exactly.
And since we were talking about Mr. Belvedere, you know, he had some pretty good writers on that show. I noticed there was a couple I was familiar with the name, Doug Steckler, Doug McIntyre, a couple
Mm-hmm.
of these people. Yeah. Some other ones I'm sure were long running writers on that show, but good quality writing on the show. That's probably the success. I know that Mr. Belvedere wasn't like in the top 10 or 20 or anything, but it was, you had a great following and a lot of fans, and to go 6 seasons, that's no small feat in TV, especially in the 80s when it was really, really competitive.
Right. Well, back then there were 3 networks: ABC, CBS, NBC. Fox was just starting. They came in with The Simpsons and Married with Children.
Right.
So they were just coming in. So the expectation of success was pretty strict. I mean, you had to hit certain numbers, and those numbers had to be pretty big. Nowadays, if anybody did a show that had our numbers, which were considered fine, not, like you said, not top 10. We were in the top 20 several times. But if anybody got those numbers now, they'd be throwing them a parade down.
Yes,
down
I agree with that.
because there weren't those choices. So the expectation was, and the pressure was to deliver, because the audience was not that fragmented. You were really expected to bring in millions and millions and millions of viewers every single week.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just giving a little bit of a reality check to the series, because you had great success on that, despite the ratings not being like number one, and you had other similar sitcoms in that 80s. I think Who's the Boss? You had, what was another one? Growing Pains, big name shows, and they all had that nuclear family. And that's what yours was, with you and Bob Uecker and the 3 kids, and of course Chris Hewitt, and he's not around anymore, right? He died a while back. Yeah.
He died in 2001.
Yeah.
2001. Yeah.
Since I got off on, I was going to sort of save that, but reminisce a little bit. I understand you have very good feelings about your time on that show and working for 5 or 6 years on that.
Well, it was, for me at the time, and I think probably for any time, it was a perfect job. I was those half-hour family comedies are designed, the workplaces I've found, and I did a lot of them as guest stars through the years, we want everybody to feel happy and well taken care of, because you have to feel secure enough to be funny. If you're worried and scared and unhappy all the time, it's really hard to be funny. And our show was, you hear this all the time from people, and I don't know if the audiences believe it or not, but it's the truth. You form your second family, because those are the people you spend many, many hours with every week.
Right.
And if you're lucky enough to have a family show where the family clicks, you've got a wonderful second family where you're accepted and valued and treasured for what you bring to the table, what you bring to the family. And I definitely felt that in the 5.5 seasons that we were together, a very strong sense of cohesiveness and looking out for each other. We were always looking out for each other, make sure that everybody was well taken care of. And Bob Uecker, while he wasn't the title character, he was the person who was attached to the project, meaning that ABC was looking for something to do with Bob. He was very popular at the time. He had a series of very successful commercials for Miller.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was one of Johnny Carson's favorite guests. He had written books. He was a broadcaster. He was extremely popular, and they wanted him on TV. And this was the vehicle. And because he was an athlete,
he was Mr. Baseball, right?
He was Mr. Baseball, absolutely. He was a team player. So he set the tone. Everybody was on the team. There was no star trip from anybody, least of all from him. So it was the first time I'd never really been close with an athlete before, and I loved that aspect of his personality and what he brought to the group.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, what other sitcoms could have taken lessons from you? It sounded like it was run real well, and you had and like a lot of them, the audience or the writers, whatever seemed popular, when a show evolves, you started to center around the Mr. Belvedere character and Bryce's character, the little
Right.
kid. So it was he and the boy getting together and, you know, plotting things or having talks and things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of TV back then, but the thing is, in pop culture, you were right there, front and center. Everybody knew who the show Mr. Belvedere, whether they watched it or not. It was there, and they would recognize you.
It's so funny. We were watching Brockmire the other night. It's a show about Hank Azaria plays this dissolute baseball announcer.
Yeah.
Brilliantly. The show's been on for a long time. We'd never watched it before. And there was actually a Mr. Belvedere reference on Brockmire. I jumped out off the couch and I went, oh my God, because these little mentions come up all the time. And you think nobody really remembers, nobody paid attention. I mean, when we were on Family Guy, you know, there was a whole section on Family Guy one night about Mr. Belvedere. And it's like, are you kidding? So people were aware of us. And even though they might make fun, it's always with such affection and such respect that it's lovely.
I'm glad that I figured that was a good entree into talking about all the other things that you have done in your career and continue to do. And I'd love to talk about those, but TV seems to be the one thing. If I've ever talked to my friends, oh, you know, I was at the Hollywood Museum and I saw, you know, Ilene Graff and her husband at the event, and they go, oh, from TV, from Mr. Belvedere. They remember her. So
yeah, it's sweet.
That's good that you have, they immediately have that recognition of you, you know, whether you, you know, some people don't appreciate that, but I think that you embrace that.
I think it's sweet. You know, we work so hard to get these jobs. We audition, we toil away, we train, we study, we do all this stuff. And then if you're lucky enough to get a job, and lucky enough to get one that lasts for a few years, and lucky enough to have one that people seem to like and that they form a relationship with, that's the dream of millions of performers is to have that for a moment in time. And I never, ever for 1 second stop being grateful for it. And if someone comes up to me and wants to talk to me, yes, of course, you know, yes, let's chat. Let's have a nice time. Yeah. I mean, people to this day, I mean, they stop me in the market, you know, and not as much as before, but, you know, some 40-year-old man will come over and see me and turn into a 12-year-old again. Yeah. It's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. I've never had any problems with fans. I've never had somebody be mean to me. Of course, now, you know, everybody's going to want to be the first one. But
I hope not. Yeah.
No,
how could they? That's But you know what they're saying when they leave that store or whatever, they're saying to their wife or their husband, you know, she still looks the same as she did on that show back then. And how long ago was that? That was 30 years ago. And you've been doing this much longer. People, I'm not going to say your age. That's not nice to do. But let's say that she looks beautiful for her age, Ilene Graff. Yeah.
Well,
I'm talking behind your back. Sorry.
That's fine. You know, I don't mind my age. I mean, it's what it is. Mm-hmm. My first Broadway show in August of this year was 50 years ago.
Mm. Wow.
So that's a really long time that I've been doing this. And I think that's cool. You know,
yeah.
I'm still healthy. You know, I can still sing. I sing in my original keys, you know, I haven't lost too much. And, you know, it's good. It's
yeah.
good.
Just briefly, before I leave the world of TV, just before it's not relevant anymore to the conversation, how did you end up getting the role of Marsha Owens for that thing? Did you audition? Were there somebody else in mind, or because I know you'd been knocking around on a few TV shows and, you know, guest spots and starring and everything like that. How'd you get that role?
It was an audition like any other audition.
Uh-huh.
You know, back in the day, I was going on lots and lots and lots of auditions. I was working a lot. I was doing, like you said, a lot of guest spots and building a little bit of a body of work. And I'd done other TV series. I'd done a lot of pilots. And this script came to the house just to go to audition for. And my husband and I, we read it, and he said, don't even worry about it. This is your show. I said, what does that mean? He said, read this thing. It's your job. It's yours to lose. Don't worry about it. You're going to get it. He had such a strong feeling that I was going to do well. And I went in, I auditioned. It went really well. I had one callback in the producer's office. And then we have what they call network auditions, where you have to go physically to the office building of the network and audition for lots and lots of suits, executives and important people. And one of those, and I got the job. And I found that in my career, from the very first audition to now, the best jobs that I've had have been the easiest ones to get, because it's that kind of thing when you walk in the door, they go, oh, yay, that's what we want. And they don't put you through terrible hoops to get the job. It was a very pleasant audition experience, but it was like one of, 100 auditions.
Yeah.
Where am I going? I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going there. And I go, oh, this one worked out. Great.
Like anybody else in acting, you just got to keep swinging. You got to keep trying until you get that. But I'm glad that you got such, as you said, it was the easiest one to get, or the easier one to get. It had a lot of, it's like, that's getting off on the right foot. And that's a good way to start a series,
Mm-hmm.
So, where was that filmed over? Prospect Studios there at ABC? And
ABC Prospect. It's where General Hospital comes from.
Right. All kinds of stuff. They have all kinds of little sound stages right over there, right? In that place.
Yeah, and that's where Lawrence Welk was done for years and years. And,
wow, I didn't know that. Yeah.
It's a historic studio. The local news, ABC local news used to come from there before they moved to their new fancy digs down the piece in Burbank.
Burbank, yeah.
But it was a really cool lot. It wasn't too big. It was very, General Hospital across the street, and there was Dolly Parton when Dolly Parton had her variety series. It was at ABC Prospect, and her dressing room was right across the hall from my dressing room. So it was cozy. It was nice.
They kept real busy, and you did that in front of the audience, so they invited people down to go watch that. That's a nice way to do a show, I think, because the energy, you have to be up and ready to go for that, and you get a better performance, I think. A lot of especially ABC today, a lot of the shows are they seem to be one camera or filmed, basically without a laugh track and all that. So
styles change over the years,
yeah,
and that's fine. I have no problem with things evolving and changing. Nowadays, shows that have laugh tracks, it almost feels obtrusive. And every show that's done with a studio audience, we record the studio audience response, and sometimes they sweeten, as they say, they sweeten the laugh track with the pre-recorded laugh track.
Yeah.
And there were a few people in the business who were the laugh track people, who had such a delicate hand with the laugh track. You couldn't even tell where the sweetening was. And sometimes on some shows, it's like, oh my God, it's so bad. Why are they making it so loud? It wasn't that funny.
Some laugh tracks were obvious, there's even the 70s. Some of the shows would have the laugh track where I would hear a woman or a man in the audience go, there's that man again laughing in the background.
Exactly.
And I fell for it. I go, well, he's just in the audience all the time. He's probably he's there as a plant to do that. But I think that they sweetened it with a recording,
Right.
But those are neat. But before all that happened, you were trying to do. I remember you were a part of the Gabe Kaplan vehicle as his wife, way back then. And
my first job, it was an early TV job for me.
Yeah.
It was after Welcome Back, Kotter, which of course was a phenomenon. And there was a show, again, a family comedy. A mom and a dad, and the dad is a Long Island guy, Gabe Kaplan, and decides to move the family from Long Island to Looking Back, Texas. So it was a fish out of water kind of series. We had kids, and you're right, it lasted 13, and that was it.
Yeah. Lewis and Clark, I think it was called. I remember. Yeah. Yeah, or maybe I could. What'd you say? Where did you say it was from? It could be
Look
looking
at
back, looking back, Cotter or something.
Yeah, right. Well, first it was called the Lewises of Luckenbach, and then they changed it to Lewis and Clark because there was an actor named Geach Cook who was very popular at the time, and
Right.
he played the other guy.
Yeah, he's the other guy in the show. Yeah.
And so he was the other guy, and he was very popular. So it was a lot of it was just about their relationship. And again, the fish out of water. What are all these Long Island Jews doing in this little town in Texas? What are we doing here? But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
That's good. Before that, you were on your site. I think you had a little thing, a reference to Super Train, which I remember. That was and that wasn't on very long. But what did you do in there? You weren't the star, but were you, or were you a supporting or a guest star? What did you do on Super Train?
Well,
people don't even know what I'm talking about, but that was a show on Channel 4 and on NBC.
That was an NBC show.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be NBC's answer to The Love Boat, but it was a mystery. So it was one of the most expensive TV shows to up until that time.
Oh, no wonder.
A miniature train. Look it up, everybody. Look it up on Google. It's amazing. The set was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Lots of very, very fancy guest stars. And there were a crew, like Gopher and the bartender, but so the show was not doing well in the ratings. The show was doing very poorly. So they decided to recast. And I came in as part of the new cast of Super Train. So I played the social director of
Okay, so you were like the Lauren Tweez. Yeah.
I was Lauren Tweez, exactly.
Yeah. That's probably how they pitched the things. We'll do it like Love Boat, and we'll have all kinds of guest stars, and except it won't be it's not really a comedy. It was more action mystery. Yeah.
Right. It was a mystery. So every week there would be a big mystery about what happened. I don't remember any of the plots, to tell you the truth. It was a very long time ago, and I only did 3 of them. But what was nice is that I had just come from Broadway, and they knew that I sang. And the producers were very nice to me, and they said, "Would you like to sing on an episode?" I said, "Yes, thank you very much." So I have some beautiful footage of me singing on Super Train.
Wonderful.
Part of my scrapbook of clips of, did that really happen? Right.
Yeah. But that's part of the the journey of your careers. You have a memory of all kinds of clips of things that you've done, and it sounds like not all of them clunkers in your mind, right? Everything was a nice piece of the puzzle to put together for your life.
That's a good way to put it. I've done a lot of different kinds of things, and one job didn't necessarily lead to the next job, so it wasn't stepping stones. You're absolutely right, but it does. It just, when you look at it as a whole, there's a picture.
Yeah, little mosaic sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, what's happened over the past 40 years in Hollywood? Well, all of these things, and then 10 years before in New York. So it's what it is. It shows that it's possible to have a nice career,
and it's well-rounded too. You must really, I don't know if you pinch yourself, but look at all the wonderful expanse of and the range of different dramatic arts that you've done, and you dance, you sing,
I don't dance.
I'm assuming you did, but
that's part of the problem. Is that I would get jobs when I was doing. I got jobs when I was doing Broadway shows, and I did Grease for a long time on Broadway. So everybody assumed that I could dance, but none of the characters I ever played on Broadway had to dance. So I would find myself in terrible situations where there was dancing, and I would just come home and cry every night and say, "I can't dance." And on the other hand, my daughter is a dancer. She's a Broadway dancer. She's like a hardcore dancer. And I look at her and I say, "Where did you come from?"
She got the talent as far as dancing, his fancy feet.
She dances great. I mean, people pay her money to dance. It's like amazing. And since she's been a little girl, she's been like, if I had particularly tricky blocking or something in a scene, She reminded me the other day that she was like in 7th grade, 8th grade, I was doing a show that I had some complicated stuff that I just couldn't remember to do because it's hard for me. She said, "Ma, you don't remember you took me to rehearsal? You made me learn your stuff so I could teach it to you at night?" I went, "Oh, yes, I did do that."
Well, if you didn't dance, how'd you play the part of on some of those numbers in Greece? Didn't you have to like go traverse the stage back and forth, do some sort of quasi dancing, as you sing?
Traverse the stage back and forth is a good way to put it. There's no Sandy in the original production of Grease before the revivals in the movie and everything. Sandy doesn't dance. There's no dance. There's some skipping. There's some like skipping in time to the music. There's some step touch. There's a little, but there's no like hardcore dance for Sandy. It's just not, traditionally it wasn't a dancing role. Everybody else was dancing, but she was the outsider, so she really didn't do all the things that the other people did. Nowadays, in more recent productions, Sandy's is expected to be a dancer as well.
Yeah.
I got in just under the wire.
So that's more Olivia Newton-John territory. She popularized the songs and everything that came. Even though a lot of those songs didn't exist in the original production. You were what year was yours? Were you in one of those New York productions back then?
I was in the original production in New York. I was not in the original company, but I was the second Sandy ever on Broadway. So that was pretty cool. So we were the original lines, the original choreography, the original songs, as original as you can get was the production that I was in.
And who were you opposite? Who was playing Danny?
When I first got there, it was Barry Bostwick, who your audience might know from the millions of things he's done.
It's too many to Rocky Horror Picture Show, I guess, is one of them. Yeah.
But I went through many, I was there for 2.5 years, and I went through many Zucos, including Jeff Conaway and Treat Williams and Greg Evigan and Richard Gere.
Listen to this.
I mean, I went through, I think, 10 Zucos in the 10 years, counting understudies and standbys and vacation replacements. But it was mostly Barry and Jeff Conaway, I would say.
Wow.
Mostly were my Zucos, but all those other guys too. Yeah.
Who else but actresses in Greece can say I went through 10 Zucos? That's a phrase you can never hear from other people. Other than actresses like that. Well, that's real nice. Speaking of TV, I got to let you know when at some of these events that I'm lucky enough to get into because of Harlan, wonderful, wonderful man. I've known him only for 10 years, but he's been very gracious to let me meet some of these wonderful people that many of them are friends of yours, and I would just love to get a scrapbook myself of a gallery of all the people that I met, but it's so tough to get the nerve up to say, hey, could you pose for this picture? Nowadays, people do that a lot with phones and everything.
No, but it's fine.
Yeah. But in one of them, I was talking with Lee Merriweather last year, and that got me interested in watching old Barnaby Jones reruns with her in them. And guess who's in one of them from the same time of your Super Train days? That person right there. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Eileen played an accountant in one of them, and you had the 1979 haircut, but you still look bright, and I don't know what's going on. You have a fountain of youth or something there.
Yeah, I got good windows in my office. I'm pretty sure it was the first TV job I had when we moved to LA, was that Barnaby Jones. I'm pretty sure it was. And that's where I met Lee, who I know to this day.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, it was a 2-parter, so there was
That's right.
You had to actually work for a few days. When you guest on a show, they try to give you as few days as possible, do all your scenes, and then you go home. But I was there for a while. I got to watch Buddy Ebsen work. I mean, for someone like me, Buddy Ebsen is a movie star. He was, I don't even think of the Beverly Hillbillies. I think of all his old movies. And Lee, who was Miss America, give me a break. There I was in a room with Miss America. And it was really, they had a really nice atmosphere on that set. It was a very nice way for me to get my feet wet.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad to, I always hear good things from people that did that show, even though it's, when when I talk to other people, say, "Oh, well, that corny little show that was on whenever it was, Saturdays or something." Yeah, but it was. I had to. Some people will say, "Oh, I didn't remember doing that. I did so many different things." I'm glad you had something to say about it. It was kind of cool to listen to that.
I got a residual check the other day for 8 cents, 8 cents for a show that I don't remember doing.
Really?
I have no idea.
Are you positive you did it? You had to look it up for a second? Or?
No, I thought maybe it had a different name and they changed the name of the show, but for 8 cents, I'm not going to go looking through my files to see what it was.
Free pennies, yeah. Put it aside or something like that. How do you cash an $8 check? You just throw it in throw it in with the rest of them, yeah.
Deposit it, you know.
Yeah. Oh, good. I didn't mean to go so long on the TV stuff, but I guess that's when you look at Ilene Graff's site, it is ilenegraff.com, and you can see all kinds of you can really get acquainted with her and realize that where's this woman been all my life? She's done everything, and she has pictures with everybody. And she's to spell her name correctly though, it's Ilene, ILENE, and Graff is spelled GRAFF, 2 F's. ilenegraff.com. And let me talk about a couple of obligatory things. Didn't you do you're part of this cause that some of these other celebs, I'll put in quotes, have been doing for this woman, Maggie Jones. She's doing a cause for what's going on right now with the coronavirus being, a lot of frontline healthcare workers are really putting in the overtime, and they're getting stressed out. And then she had this product called Nutrient Soak, where you could soak in the tub, or you could put apply it, and it's puts antioxidants into your system. I'm sort of talking about it, but didn't you make a video also endorsing this product and the cause, at least what's going on?
Yeah, I endorse the effort, definitely. I don't think any of us who are not frontline workers can really understand what they're going through. I watch, like everyone does, I've got the news on all day, and the respect that and the empathy we have, not only for the people who are sick, but for the people who are taking care of them, who are heroes, who are putting themselves in the line of fire every single day, is overwhelming to see that professional and human dedication that they have. And Maggie decided that she was going to donate many thousands of dollars worth of product to the frontline workers so that they could take her nutrients, so stick it in the bathtub and just rest and relax for a couple of minutes. I thought it was a really great idea to, put your money where your mouth is. It's like, what do I have? What can I do? Who am I? What have I got to offer? And Maggie said, well, I have this product that I really believe in, and I want everybody to be able to take a bath and just relax for a minute. And I thought that was really lovely of her. So she's distributing her product free of charge to frontline workers. And in our, I also did a video for her and for Harlan Bowl, who is the publicist that you were talking about, one of my very best friends, just to encourage other businesses to see what they can come up with to help our frontline workers. And I think it's a great idea. I mean, you and I don't have a big company. I can't donate masks and gowns and
I know, I'd love to be able to. Yeah.
Right. I don't have the wherewithal to do that. But if there are companies that have a product that they can say, oh yeah, I'll send over a bunch of cuddly socks, or just something that can help the people that are working the hardest through this. I think it's a great idea. I
really hope they can benefit from that. I'm sure that's already happened, but if anybody wants to go to it, I don't know if you have it on your site, but it's Maggie Jones's site is nutrientsoak.com, I believe. I'll put it on the screen just to make sure that everybody knows, and maybe I'll say that at the end. Moving along here, because I don't want to waste time. We had some. I thank you for going so long on the TV stuff. I think I was just having a fun walk down memory lane with all that stuff. So.
Well, me too. I like thinking about it. It's fun, and it's where the bulk of my work was, and it's. I saw TV change tremendously through the years that I was doing television, in terms of, just simple things like the equipment changed so much through the years.
Oh yes.
And the way we do things has changed so much through the years, and it's all interesting to me. Everything is interesting to me.
You also acted in a movie, or maybe movies. One of them was you're credited with Ladybugs, which was Rodney Dangerfield. Was it the soccer team, the girls' soccer team? Yeah. How was it working on that thing?
Well, I mean, you're with Rodney Dangerfield, so it's funny. I never worked with anybody who had a mind like that. He's not like, he never was a funny, happy-go-lucky guy. That's not the character that he portrayed. That wasn't his public persona at all.
So I've heard. Yeah, I'm realistic about that.
Yeah, that's not what you get. But if we were doing a scene or not just me, but I wasn't in the whole movie. A scene wasn't working. We need a different line here. We need something here. Rodney, we need a joke here. He had that mind that would give you 5 jokes on the spot. What do you need? Here's one. Here's a line. Here's a line. You pick what you want. I never saw that kind of computer mind that would just come up with appropriate jokes for a scene on the spot.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And what were you in the movie? Remind people what that is. It was it was more of a kid's vehicle, right? It was a kid's movie.
Yeah, it was like a tween movie.
Not vehicle, but I mean geared toward kids and
it was
family.
It was a movie about a girls' soccer team, and Rodney was the coach whose boss was sponsoring the team. I'm trying to remember the plot.
It's okay, you don't have to, but I just remember you being in it. Yeah.
Right. It was a movie about girls soccer, and I think probably one of the first movies about girls sports. Well, I mean, not the first, but one of the early movies about girls sports. So a lot of young girls saw that movie, and their love for sport was validated by that movie. And it was a mistaken identity movie, and I played my girlfriend, and so there was a lot of stuff going on in the picture. Jack Hay was in it,
Oh, so Jack Hay, okay.
That was fun. That was really fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But you were also now you got to sing in one of those. What was the movie? You did the remake of South Pacific. Disney did that, right? And that was you with Glenn Close and Harry Connick Jr. Correct?
Well done. Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And you got to sing, right? Didn't you sing in that? Or I don't know if you were, did you have like solo parts to do, or were you part of the ensemble or whatever?
I was kind of in the ensemble. I think I had 2 or 3 solo lines, but I had an important role. I had a role that really isn't in the musical, the Rodgers and Hammerstein original musical, the Broadway musical, but a character that was in the original books, the original Tales from the South Pacific, the character that I played. They wanted Glenn, who played Nellie Forbush, who's the lead, they wanted her to have a friend, someone an equal, a friend. So they pumped up that role, and I got that role. So there I am in Australia doing this gorgeous movie, South Pacific, which is one of the most important musicals we have in the American Musical Theater catalog. And I would pinch myself sometimes and say, how did this happen? How am I going to lunch with Harry Connick Jr. and Glenn Close? I mean, how did this happen? And it was a magnificent experience. The sets were all absolutely perfect. Historically, World War II, we had World War II airplanes. We had, I mean, you name it, we had it. And it was a very, very, very special project. Wow.
Thank you for sharing all that. That's fun to know all this stuff about you. I'm trying to see how I don't want to spend all the time in the world with you, although I'd like to, but you obviously have a life, even though we're all staying at home. I want to respect your time. We went to your show. You had the Ilene, what is it called? The Ilene Graff Holiday Show that you do. I don't know if it's a yearly thing that you do, or what is this? Because we went to it and we loved it.
Thank you. It started a few years ago in New York. I have a very talented family. My father was in show business. My mother was a musician. And my family's very talented. My cousin Randy Graff was in the original production of Les Mis on Broadway.
Wow.
He's a Tony Award winner.
Mhm.
My brother Todd Graff is a writer and director of film now, but he started out as a performer as a child, and he is also a Tony Award nominee. And Tony Awards are for people on Broadway.
Right.
And my daughter has been in Broadway shows and lots of off-Broadway shows and is extremely talented. And my husband is an ASCAP award-winning composer and a musical director, extraordinarily talented. Randy's husband is extremely talented musical director. I said,
Oh
you
my
guys,
gosh.
we need to do something together. We've never done anything together. So we put together the Graff Family Holiday Show, and we did it in New York at a club called 54 Below, and it was very successful.
Right.
And then a couple of years ago, I said, I want to tweak the holiday show and do it again. So we did it. My brother, Todd Graff, who lives here in LA, he was one of my special guests the first time we did it. And it was just what I wanted it to feel like was an old-fashioned 1960s TV holiday special, like the Andy Williams show.
Yeah.
And it
in
was
a family setting, all the family gathers around. Yeah.
Exactly. And then this past December, I said, I want to do it again. So I asked our mutual friend, Harlan Bowl, to be one of my guests on the show. And my brother was one of my guests on the show.
Oh,
And we did it again here in LA at Feinstein's at Vitello's. And it was very successful. And it was an absolute blast to be surrounded by so many family and friends and just sharing holiday music and sharing the talents of the people that I know, which is always like makes you feel so good.
Oh, we were so happy to see you, my wife, and I was just letting you talk. I wasn't jumping in going, oh yeah, I know this, because Todd was amazing. We enjoyed his the numbers he did when he sang, and my wife Mona, she was saying how I've never seen a Tony Award perform, Tony winner perform, that kind of thing. So, and we were so, and I'm just so impressed by your singing. You have such range and such great pitch. I was just wondering, how did you become? Did you start singing at a very early age, and were you natural? Did you have to develop this talent? What happened? How did you become so great at this?
Oh, you are so sweet. Well, like I said, my dad was a professional singer, so I don't know if talent is inherited or not, but there was always music. And I started singing for my dad was a vocal contractor, which means he would hire singers to sing on jingles and record dates and stuff. And I started singing jingles for my dad when I was like 13, 14 years old. And I just could always sing. It was the one thing that was dependable for me. I could sing. My pitch was always good.
That's always good. Yeah, that's a good start to it. Yeah,
it's a good start. And then I just always sang. It was just the thing that I could do. And I always thought I was going to become a singer. But I found when I got and I went to college. I was a drama major in college, and I sang through college, and I didn't start studying singing seriously till I was out of college, oddly enough. But I found that when I was out of school and trying to get like a record deal or something, it was much harder to get work as a singer than it was to get work as an actress. Because for when you act, you can go to auditions and you can do well and you can get a job, and then you get another job. But I just was at a time in the music business where there was no room for someone like me. So I incorporated the singing into doing a lot of musical theater and then concerts and cabarets and that kind of thing.
So singing so to get it's a little more challenging, you're saying, it just than the acting was? Yeah.
I found in terms of getting employment. Yes.
I'll name drop because I know that you met this man, Richard Sherman, the Disney songwriter.
Oh, sure.
He was on my show about 5 years ago, and he said something about, he said, oh, I'd rather be a songwriter, because at least a songwriter, he has a song. To act is so much more. You have to have the right look, and you have to have the right personality, and you have to grab the casting director or whoever is going to choose you. He says, I couldn't deal with that kind of, I can deal with rejection on one side, but over here it's, they're almost rejecting you as a person. here they're just going to reject my song. And so I just wondering if you, it sounds like you may not have dealt with fear of rejection or anything like that. Have you?
I
When it comes to that?
I never felt ever, and I've been rejected far, far, far more than I've been accepted. Anybody who's in this business will tell you that. But I never felt like I was being rejected as a person ever. And I don't know why I never felt that, but I never did. I always felt that I wasn't the right person for the job. That's all. I didn't tick the boxes. That's why I didn't get it. And as long as you know that, and I knew it on a cellular level, that there wasn't anything me. They don't know me. How could they not like me? You know, that's not, doesn't make sense. Of course, there were jobs that I didn't get that I really, really wanted in my life, but I never, ever took it personally. I just wasn't the right person for the job. Just like the jobs that I got, I was the right person for, and someone else had to go home and feel bad about it because I got it.
It's all that insecurity. I mean, it's obvious statement, but it's all up here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I've been really lucky that I've worked for very few stinkers in my life. I mean, very few. I had a couple of directors or whatever that I did not like and didn't get along with and would never work with again. But when you consider out of 50 years in show business, I've got maybe one or two, I think that's pretty good odds.
Yeah. And have you ever had the situation where you walk away, you say, no, that's not for me. I won't do this one, you know, or did you say yes to everything that came your way?
I pretty much said yes to everything that came my way, except for a few things that I just felt I would be uncomfortable doing, that I knew that I would not be happy doing this particular role. I mean, even though I might have gotten the job, they might have wanted me, I knew my reticence about something was not going to serve the project. So there have been some things that I've turned down, or turned down auditions for things that I felt that I could probably do the work, but I wouldn't have wanted to do the work. And the project should always have the people that want to be there.
Okay.
They shouldn't have someone that feels like, I don't really want to do this.
Thanks for that. That's a little bit of a bridge because to a conversation I really wanted to have for you ever since I got a chance to interview you is you run these workshops. It's called Make the Song Your Own workshop that you created, and you mentor and you teach people. I was wondering if you could brag on that, because I think that's wonderful, and that fits in well to the theme of my show, because I'm known for interviewing and building a camaraderie with independent songwriters and singers. That's what I am. So, but whenever I get a chance to talk to an actor or just a singer, I like to explore that side too, because there's a lot of creativity in the performance. And it sounds like in these workshops, you don't just teach, you probably, I know I'm talking a lot for this question here, but it sounds to me like you're doing this not to teach technique, but to give a well-rounded scope of what it is to be a singer and how to make that song grab the audience that you're trying to project to. Okay, I'll shut up. Do you get the gist of what I'm asking you?
I do.
Okay, please brag on your workshop. That's what I want to know.
Worry about it. It's called Making the Song Your Own Vocal Performance Workshop. A few years ago, my husband and I had always sort of done casual coaching for singers, because I still at heart feel that I'm a singer. That's that's what I feel I do. I get paid for acting, but in my heart, I'm a singer. I grew up as a singer. That's what I do. And I've done so much singing. I mean, and talk about independent work. When my husband and I decided to do our CD, and it's years ago now, called Baby's Broadway Lullabies.
Yeah.
And that's what we were nominated for a Grammy for. It was to put our own spin on Broadway show tunes and turn them into lullabies. And we were so delighted that the Academy recognized the uniqueness of what we were doing by making these razzle-dazzle Broadway show tunes into sweet lullabies for babies. Pardon me. And Ben and I realized that we had a lot to offer We've been in show business probably between us almost 100 years and had done everything there is to do. And musically, we like taking songs, taking them apart, putting them back together so that they are unique expressions of how we feel. And I thought that that would be a really cool jumping off point for a vocal performance workshop, would be to show people how their life, their personal experiences, things that they've been through are valuable, and how you take that, your life story, or things that you've done or whatever, it's not terribly deep, although sometimes it gets very deep in class, and find a song that you like and bring your perspective and your point of view to your song so that it has depth and resonance, and so that the audience relates to it in a very personal way. And I think you saw that in our holiday show.
I did.
Harlan
Yeah.
sang The Impossible Dream. Now, we worked on that song a lot, not only with technique. Yes, I'm not a voice teacher, but I've got a lot of technique. I've studied, I know a lot of things, but I'm not really a voice teacher. But we worked on that song a long time with discussion about what does it mean to you? How do you relate this to your own life? What is the story you want to tell in this song? So that's what we spend an awful lot of time on with every student.
Yeah.
And it is so thrilling to see them be able to put a unique spin on whatever song it is. I mean, everything's not going to be a fancy musical arrangement. Sometimes it's just going to be the way the song is written. But just by the fact that, well, I've been a principal in a school for many, many years, and I'm singing a song about children, so I'm bringing those memories of working with students into my song. And the audience doesn't really know why a performance is very affecting, why it touches their heart. But I feel that if you put enough of yourself into your performance, the audience is going to relate to it strongly. So that's what we do. And we do professionalism, and we do how to walk on stage, and we do how to breathe properly so that you sing well. And we do everything. And it's probably the most satisfying work that I do, is teaching.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. That's what I was always hoping for, that these who knew a workshop like this existed. You created this how long ago? You did this a while back, right?
We started formally doing it, I would say, about 6 years ago.
Okay.
About 6 or 7. But like I said, we had been coaching informally for years. Just for years. People would come over. I have an audition. Can you help me with this? Or I'm putting a show together. I don't know what to do with this song. Or my daughter's friends, helping them with their college auditions or whatever. And it had been informal for a long time. And then finally it was like, well, why don't we make this a thing? Why don't we just make it a thing?
Yeah.
And we do. And then at the end of every workshop, which usually lasts about 8 weeks, we do a showcase, and people sing their song in front of an audience, and we have a party, and it's very social. And I think we're seeing that a lot now, the need for people to connect and to build community. And that's something Ben and I always wanted to do at the workshop. We wanted our students to become friends. We wanted them to be with people who loved singing as much as they did, because for a lot of people, their day jobs have nothing to do with music. Nothing.
Right.
Every profession you can think of where people may not feel comfortable saying, well, you know what I really love to do is sing. You know, the other judges might look at you like you're nuts. The other lawyers, really? But they come into the space where class is, and they're with people who feel the same way, and they really build a beautiful, caring, supportive community. And we're doing that now. Our workshop that was supposed to be going on right now, of course, was canceled. So we're Zooming. So we have a Zoom on Saturday where the participants in workshop, we're going to get together and we're going to sing for each other. I'm not teaching. I'm just giving everybody a space to hang out, and everybody's going to sing a song, and just for fun, just to entertain each other. Because I think we really need that. We need the community, and we need music. We really, those of us that need music and need to sing, we need it, and we need it now a lot.
Well, thank goodness thank God in this time that we have this going on, that we have a platform such as Zoom to be able to communicate. A lot of people have been doing that. They discovered it now. So
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a while, but it's taken on a whole new meaning, and I've gotten to see a lot of people with bad lighting in their living rooms or in their at their desk, and you know. And I know that I like you. I noticed you didn't have to get put on makeup or do your hair or anything like. You just naturally look like this. So
Oh, God.
that's pretty stunning.
I said, I gotta go. You mean I have to take a shower and blow dry my hair? Okay.
That's one of the reasons I didn't do a lot of videos, because I didn't want to constantly be worried about how am I going to dress up for the thing. But I believe me, inside here, I really want to do that. But I'm too self-conscious about how I look on the camera. But I did try to make sure if you were going to look nice, so was I. But I tried my best. So
I think you look divine.
thank you.
I like your background, and we just discovered virtual backgrounds. I didn't know about virtual backgrounds.
I did, and I've been trying to do them for about 10 years now, and I still couldn't get the hang of that a good green screen to do that stuff with. But I'm going to work on that. I want it to be I don't want it to look so phony back there, but
right.
This just covers up all the messy clutter in my office here.
Is that a poster? Did you have that?
It's one of those folding, like what do you call those things that that the women would go behind and get undressed, and those kind of things. Yeah,
it's nice. I like it.
Accordion thing. I love this thing. Yeah,
I
decided to keep it as the backdrop for a long time. So
well,
thank you.
We're in my office now,
uh-huh.
and behind me are a couple of posters of Broadway shows that I've done, and this is a baseball bat that Bob Euchre gave all of us in the show. It is a
nice
a Rawlings Adirondack bat, and he had we all have our names engraved on our bats.
How cool.
This is the closest I've ever come to sport, because I don't do sport. I don't do sporty things. But I've got my own bat, and I've got my name on it. And this bat is from my son-in-law. His grandfather was a ball player and one of the first announcers in baseball. And we went to Louisville for a wedding, and we went to the Louisville Slugger Museum, and he looked up his grandfather, and his grandfather had a Louisville Slugger bat. His great-grandfather rather, is on the Wall of Fame at the Louisville Slugger Museum.
Wow.
So Dan got us all our own tiny little bats to commemorate the fact. So I've got my two bats right there.
Thank you. Show and tell. I wish I had brought something here. Yeah. I have this thing. My wife's friend made me this special one of these Yeti type drink cups here with a special thing for me. So so every once in a while when I do that, I'm not trying to be rude to people. I just want to show off the mug,
Very nice. Well, I would too. I would.
It's all I got. Sorry. I don't have a great bat or any, but I'm working on that. I have posters that I'm trying to work on a backdrop here later on, since I'm going to plan to do this more often with the video. So. Well,
you should, because it's fun, and it. Now that we know that we can do this, it makes our conversation easier. I think it flows more easily when you can see the person you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
And I enjoy watching people do their thing. I'm on the Western Council of the Actors Fund, which is a nonprofit social services organization that exists to serve any entertainment professional who needs help. Money, education, health insurance. It's a big organization. And the Actors Fund has been the recipient of some fantastic shows like this over the past, since this all started, because we need a lot of money. There is an incredible amount of need in our entertainment community. And we've given away millions and millions of dollars so far in the past month and a half. We've given away way more than we usually give away in a whole year in the past month and a half.
Holy cow.
And the requests are coming in like crazy. So these kinds of at-home events that are happening, we've had some fantastic ones that the Actors Fund has been the beneficiary of. For example, I don't know if you watched the Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie did an at-home Rosie O'Donnell show. That was like her show.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. You mean recently?
Yeah,
Something like that? Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah. So she had all kinds of guests, Broadway stars, film stars, just like it was the Rosie O'Donnell show, except it was on Zoom. And she raised over $600,000 for the Actors Fund.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So there have been some wonderful events that have benefited the fund. And if you have any listeners who are entertainment professionals who find themselves in need right now, please go to actorsfund.org and see if there's something there that we can help you with, because we're here to help.
Thank you. I'm glad you said it first. I was going to ask you, actorsfund.org.
Right.
Wonderful. Right. That has acting, you've been doing this a long time for acting. Have you found that, like you said, a lot of things have changed? What's been the constant? What stays the same in the process of, getting auditions and getting a role? And I mean, is it still kind of the same thing as when you were doing it for all these younger actors to do this?
That's a good question. No, it's changed a lot. More and more actors are required to self-tape. When I was starting out, and up until the past few years, you had an audition, you got a script, you went to an office, you auditioned with the casting director, maybe a director, whatever, and you went home. Now people are doing more and more self-taping.
Okay.
So they send you the script. You have to set up your own, your iPhone on your tripod, set up your light, find somebody to work with you, set up a background. So we are now required to do more of that work by ourselves instead of going to an office. It has its pluses and minuses. The plus is you're not in traffic. You're not trying to get someplace, and in LA, it takes forever to get anywhere, so you're not having to do that. The minus is you don't have the human interaction. I like going to an audition, doing what I do, and have the director say, could you try it this way? Or could you try that? So I can show my flexibility, and I can show how to do something more than one way. So that's kind of been taken out of the equation. But it seems to be the way business is going. My daughter does self-tapes all the time.
Okay. So just to introduce herself and what is she going to do today in this tape, and
Yeah, I mean, you've got the script, you have to learn it, you have to act to your iPhone.
Your daughter's name is Nika or Nika? What is it? Nika? Nika. Sorry if I screwed that up. Does she have to do different tapes for different situations, or can she just make one all encompassing reel, like a sizzle reel, or just her own talking reel or whatever?
Every audition, it's just like any audition. You get a script. Say your lines. So they see
and do it the way they want it. Yeah, what you think they want. Yeah.
There you go. The way you think.
I say this because I'm not one of that community. I don't act. I don't do that. So, and by the way, I'm an introvert. So it's all this stuff is new to me, and I love to live vicariously through the people that are more extroverted, and I do feel for them. This must be a tough time to be, self-isolating like we're all doing. That's got to be tough, that the human interaction. They really want to go out there and go out and hug people and go to somebody's house and just talk with them, and it's I feel for them. I really do. That sounds like a silly trivial thing, but different personalities, it's a really tough thing, isn't it?
It's really tough. I mean, it's tough on every level. We lost one of our dearest, longest time friends to the virus. So
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I know a lot of people who've had it, including family members. So that's tough. And the people that are working, like we talked about, the frontline workers, that's tough. And the rest of us, yeah, it's tough. I mean, but we didn't die. We're not, we're not putting our lives on the line every day. For someone like my daughter, she was doing an off-Broadway show that just got nominated for a whole bunch of Drama Desk Awards, in fact, yesterday. So that was very exciting. But they were doing their show. She had a good job. She was earning her money. She was getting her health insurance. Over, you know, over. Everything closed. Broadway closed. Off-Broadway closed. And it was like, I've been rehearsing. I'm doing my show. I'm having a great time. It's like, don't come to work tonight. And I don't know how long you're ever going to, and you're not going to come back to work on this show. That show's over. And in our business, that's happened to so many people. Broadway, I don't know what Broadway's going to be like when this is over. I don't know if any of the shows are going to come back. I mean, Hamilton will come back. I mean, the blockbusters will come back. But I don't know what's going to come back. And so what this has done for people in our business, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, if you've got that creative thing and you feel like you have to create, I have seen more wonderful expressions of creativity online of people that just are doing what they can do to share their talent and to give you something to do, something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, to learn new technology. I have a friend I was talking to the other day. She's going to be part of a something brand new that I'm not going to talk about because she said don't talk about it. But
No
what she has said is it has forced her to learn a whole new technology. She's a singer. She's an actress. It's like, wait a minute, I have to learn how to do this whole new thing. So it's made all of us have to learn, you know, if you are so inclined to learn stuff. And I don't think any of us have the right to put our expectation on anybody else and how you're coping. Some people are coping by sitting in their couch and reading a book all day. I think that's fine. I don't ever want anybody to feel that they have to do more than they're capable of doing. So if you're an introvert and you don't want to do this stuff and you know the best way to take care of yourself is to watch TV and to have a cup of coffee in your nice mug or you know, take a walk around the block, I think it's all absolutely acceptable. I really do.
I only share the introvert thing because so that you know where I'm coming from and what I had to do about 10 minutes before joining you here on Zoom is to run around the block, like you said. Just I had to get myself into it because I got to get myself up and not be. I don't want to, you know, stammer over every single word. I do that anyway, but it's just something I wanted to share, and that I do. It seems funny for me to say I feel for all those people who can do what I can't do, is be outgoing and just talk to anybody in sight. But for shy people, it's a different world being cooped up. I don't mind it, but I still want to go out and I miss being able to go out and meet people and go to those shows. A lot of friends of mine had shows and they got canceled, and that was and we don't know if they're ever coming back to do them. So
exactly.
That is strange.
And I don't know that it has so much to do with, I mean, I think I'm sure that you've done a lot of interviews and you know that a lot of performers are very shy, very introverted.
You know what I call the situational extrovert. They come to life when they need to, you know.
That's such a great way of putting it. I'm going to remember that because it's true. My family laughs at me all the time because I'm a pretty quiet person. You wouldn't know it from this, but I'm more than happy to never say a word. And they say, as soon as you have to, you just turn on that light and you go, and you can talk to anybody. You can do anything. They always push me in the front. You go talk to them. You do this or do that. But it's a situational extrovert. I think that's excellent.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
I think I've sold myself. I can't. Let me take two. I sell myself short on that sometimes. You know, I do come to life sometimes on this, but in my heart, I'm a ham. That's why I like to write songs, and I can perform things in front of a camera, you know, when nobody else is around. But I think I have a little bit of a stage fright presence. You know, I can get up in front of people, but I almost have to throw up when I get off the stage because some people go through that. You know,
you're not alone. We have a friend that worked for. He was like an orchestra. I mean, he had a job. That'll be it, with a superstar, a superstar, who had such terrible stage fright. Sometimes they literally had to push this person on stage because the fear of this person's fear was so intense that they were ready just to not do the show. And there'd be thousands of people waiting for them. And there would be like a little team of helpers who would say, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And gently just move that person onto the stage who, as soon as the lights hit, was absolutely fine.
Wow.
But the nerves were so overwhelming with the throwing up and the I can't do it and the crying and everything, and then doing it and being brilliant. So you are so not alone. You are not alone. It's very, very common. And it's something that we deal with in class a lot, is people with stage fright, because my students are not, most of them are not professional performers. I mean, some are, most certainly, but some are not, and they don't have a lot of experience. So we spend a lot of time on dealing with nerves and how to do the thing you never thought you were going to be able to do. And there are techniques, and everybody gets through it.
Anybody ever do one of those things where, like, on the spot performance is like, okay, go ahead and sing it in the rain, go, and then I would go like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it in front of all these people right now, even though they're all my friends, were, that kind of thing. It's I don't know. I see people go through that, and I go like, oh, I don't want to be in that guy's shoes right now, because I don't think I could. I feel like, oh no, what if I hit the wrong note? And
Yeah. Do you ever do live performance?
Oh, so long ago. Not really, though. No, I was working up to that. Wanted to try to put together, a band 20 years or so ago. And I wrote good songs, but getting the chance to go up there, how you do open mics and you can audition and just perform your stuff.
Right.
Never got the opportunity, but I think in my mind, I built up that once I get up there, this little negative talk would come up that says, good thing, because I don't think I'm going to be able to do it good, right. Excuse me.
It's too bad you don't live closer to me, because then I would pressure you to take my class.
I would love to take your class, when it comes back in. But yeah, you're way up there. It's so tough for me. And by the way, I have a day job too. I do a lot of trying to squeeze this in with the stuff I do. So, and I worked strange hours in order to be able to do this at the time we're talking. So that I'm not doing it in the evenings. So that's nice.
Right.
So,
well,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
You sound like you're a well-rounded guy. And
I try to be. And that's the way I've pictured you, at least on paper. You've done all kinds of stuff. We were so impressed with your performance and your family. We felt like we were with your family, like your mom and dad there. But you and Todd on stage, and you said, was Randy there that night? You're saying you mentioned Randy.
Well, in the New York show, she lives back east, and and my daughter lives back east, so it's too complicated to bring them out to do the show.
And that's your cousin, yeah.
Randy's my cousin.
Okay.
She was the original Fantine in Les Mis on Broadway.
Oh,
so anybody that's ever listened to that original Broadway cast album has heard my cousin sing. And
she's on it.
Great. She's great. She's really something. She was nominated for more than one Tony, but she won one Tony for City of Angels, which was a Cy Coleman show. But it's a little complicated to try to get everybody together to try to do a show again. Maybe someday we'll get everybody to go to New York. Now that we're living all over the place. It's
Speaking of all over the place, I'm going all over the place with these topics, but I don't want to ignore your great husband, Ben. And am I pronouncing his last name when I say Lanzarone?
Lanzarone, pretty good.
Okay, fantastic. And he's been at your side since I think you said in the show you've been married since 1977. So do the math, 42, 43 years maybe?
42 years. We've been married for 42 years, and we have been musical partners pretty much all the time. He is the only reason I do the singing things that I want to do. First of all, I could never afford him. He's very expensive to work with.
Yes.
He has lots of scores for TV shows. He's a highly accomplished piano player. He was a studio musician in New York. He's conducted for lots of big name acts, and we have a good musical partnership. We both kind of like to do the same kinds of things musically, and without him, I don't know that I could do when I get an idea, like I got the idea to do the Lullaby album.
Uh-huh.
I said, "Oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we can do that. I can do that." And we did it all at home and in our studio up until, you know, and any cabaret show that I do, it's all because he can do the hard work. I get an idea, I want to do a song a certain way, then it becomes up to him to make that a reality and to write out the arrangement. And, you know, this is what the bass player is going to play. This is what the guitar player is going to, so he has a lot of the hard work to do. And I just get to stand up in front of people in a pretty outfit and sing songs.
And he did it well. Yeah, I heard some of that album. It's like you would think it is. It's all these Lullaby of Broadway. Lullaby of Broadway, for instance, is slowed down to a pace where it's a very a sleepy ballad,
Right.
geared toward you play it for the babies in the crib. I think, you know, sounds exactly like it.
It started when our daughter was little, and I used to sing her show tunes as lullabies, you know, because those were the songs I knew. And I you know, the lullabies to me, they were okay, but it was much more fun to sing show tunes.
Of course, yeah, that's your thing. That's your wheelhouse, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I said, well, you know, we could do this for real. You want to do this for real? I was like, yeah, let's do it for real.
He didn't roll his eyes. He said, oh no, she's got another one of her ideas. Let's do this. He sounds like he's very loving and accommodating to what your creative aspirations are.
He is. He's extremely creative. You know, he comes from a combination of a classical and a jazz background, and he's done a lot of pop music. So he's got a million ways of approaching music. And he says the 4 most dreaded words in the English language are, I have an idea.
That's so wonderful. Congratulations on the Grammy nomination, though. That was pretty cool to have.
Yeah, I mean, if I could move that, wait a second, I'll move this.
Oh, here we go.
See it. Can you see that?
Yeah. There's a medallion. Is that the one I'm looking at up?
Right. That's my Grammy nomination medallion. That's the cover. That's a picture of Ben and me.
Uh-huh.
On the night of the Grammys.
Do you have the thing around your neck in the picture? Because a lot of time they take the picture with you with it wearing it. Yeah.
I have the thing around my neck in the picture.
Yeah. It's too far back there for me to see it, but how nice. You got all those cool little things in your office there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
how do you end up getting a Grammy nomination? Is there a campaign involved? You know, like, you know, submit your name to put in as a vote, and
you submit your thing and then you forget about it because there's a billion other submissions, and
you got other things you got other irons in the fire, so to speak.
I didn't think about it, but you just submit yourself. There's paperwork. You send in the CD, and then that's it. And then they send you I don't remember. I guess they must have sent an email. It's a long time ago. They sent an email, and you go, "Are you kidding me?" So there's many, many, many categories in the Grammys, as you well know. There's hundreds of categories, and this was a nomination in children's music. And children's music is a big field. There's a lot of stuff out there in children's music that you're not aware of until you have a child.
I guess so, yeah.
Oh my God. So so it was very exciting. It was like, really, our little idea. Someone else liked our little idea. And
I like that.
We didn't win, but the people that won that year were, I don't remember their names, but they were big hitters in the children's music business and had been working at it for a very, very long time and were very successful. And here we were, these upstarts, you know, from Hollywood.
Upstarts.
You know, so I didn't expect to win at all because nobody really knew us in that world. But I'm extremely proud of the CD. It's timeless.
I was trying to see if I could find it online. Yeah, Amazon sells it. Yeah. I don't know if the date is correct. Was it done in 2003? Is it about that time?
Yeah. Let me look at the thing. Yes, 2003.
Yeah, so it wasn't way in the past, but was this when? How old is? Oh, maybe I shouldn't ask that. How old is Nika?
Nika was a little kid. She was a little kid. She was very little.
Yeah.
And
that maybe was one of these things where it was way in the past, and then you got the idea later on. But this is like right at the moment, right? You were doing it right then.
There I am singing lullabies to her, and I said, "Why don't this works? You know, this works."
And it's called Babies Broadway Lullabies, correct?
Babies Broadway Lullabies.
Look it up, everybody. Go check it out. It's fun. If you like.
There, but I don't feel like standing up and walking around and going and I could show you one if I had one next to me, if I thought it through, but I don't.
My kids haven't been that little since the early 90s. So, but I listened to it and I remember, oh yeah, if I had something like this, that'd have been nice to play. Because when you're a new parent, you do that. You get baby things and you try to, yeah.
Baby things. Yeah.
And you live on, and then when grandkids come, then you do that again. So that'd be fun. That's coming soon, I hope. Let's see here. Oh, but as far as Ben, one day you'll have to introduce me to him if I ever see you again at one of these things. That'd be nice to. Definitely. I'll wave to you and you go, remember me? I was the guy that talked to you for like 3 hours on the Zoom.
You'll have to carry a mic around and have your headset on, and then
then you'll recognize me.
Sometimes it's hard out of context.
Oh shoot! I'm losing track, but shoot, let's see if there's anything I hadn't. We talked about your workshop. That was the main thing. I figured that why not talk about something that's really exciting for you is to do all these workshops, and you've had a lot of great alumni, so to speak. Who are some of the cool people that we might know that take your classes, your workshops?
I don't know that there's anybody that you would know. I mean, well, Carolyn Hennessy is taking class right now. Carolyn is an Emmy
soap actress. Yeah, I gotcha.
Emmy award-winning actress, and so she used to sing, and she hadn't sung in a long time, and she came to a showcase. She's a friend of Harlan's, actually. Came to a showcase that Harlan was singing in. Harlan is one of my students. And she said, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. And she said she's been in class and she sings great. And of course, she's a fabulous actress. She's very funny. And so I would imagine, I think that she's probably the student that has the highest visibility. Oh, I don't know if your listeners would remember, another one of my favorite students is a young actress named Romy Dames. And Romy was on Hannah Montana for a long time. Yeah. And does lots of cartoon voices, lots of animation. And she also was in class because she hadn't sung since high school and was being given some wonderful opportunities by Disney. Did she want to do this? Did she want to do that? And she felt like, I need to get my singing back in order. If I'm going to go do something with Miley Cyrus, I need to be able to feel confident in my singing again. So she came to class for quite a while and made enormous strides. She's very, very talented.
I'm thinking that a lot of the way that you encourage people to make the song your own, I bet you that reinforces any acting experience that they have, and then they could take that back to their acting world, and use those skills too. It's like you can explore your singing and still be in that acting. It's like you're teaching acting technique in your song, so that you can be like all the greats did that stuff. You wonder how they could phrase and like how did Frank Sinatra do a song where you thought he was the one that wrote it, or Barbra Streisand or Rosemary Clooney or Bing Crosby. All of them have that certain quality where you feel that they were speaking a story to you, and that they made that song their own too. So I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, making these workshops for everybody.
Well, thank you.
I'd love to be able to check them out, but even on Zoom, it'd be fun to look at them. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that we're all just sitting around the campfire telling stories. From the earliest days, people had to entertain each other, and they sat around the fire and they told stories about the hunt that day, or, I found water, and we're still basically doing the same thing today. We're just sharing our stories, and whether it's your personal story or you're telling somebody else's story, if you can communicate that story beautifully, you've won.
Wonderful. Okay. So now, see, I thought I'd run out of things to ask you and I go, I know there's something I'm forgetting to ask her. And now I've just been reminded myself, it has to do with you and Ben, and going back to that holiday show that you were doing. There were a couple things I was curious about. So first of all, you talked about Harlan and how you coached him and taught him how to emote in the Impossible Dream from Man of La Mancha, and he did a great job. Everybody was on their feet, a standing ovation for him.
So proud.
And then you did a number together. You and he did a duet,
Yeah.
which was That's Wonderful, or what was the name of the song? What was the title?
It's called The Grass is Always Greener, and it's a Broadway show called Applause.
Applause. Okay.
No, Woman of the Year. I lied.
Okay.
Oh God, it went right out of my mind. I'll look it up. Yeah.
Oh, that was I love the song. I love the way you did it, and true to form, you made the song your own. And my wife and I was just talking to my wife. I said, I think Ben Lanzarone wrote that. It sounds just like an old show tune, but I guess I was complimenting him one way or the other. Has he ever written stuff for you in these shows that you're doing, or did he that night? Original material that you performed in the shows.
Yeah, well, we wrote a song together that we did in the holiday show. I wanted to do I'm not a religious person, and I wanted yet to do a holiday song that was not really a holiday song, but a song that really spoke to my feelings about the season and, whatever, my philosophy. So we wrote a song together called Peace Upon the Land that we did that night.
I remember it. Yeah.
And I wrote the words first, and then I gave him the words, and he wrote the music. And it was so gratifying. I've sung the song now in public, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And every time we do it, it gets such a huge response from the audience. It just makes my heart swell because I think the music is beautiful. I think what he did with it is beautiful. His arrangement is beautiful. He really paid close attention to what I was saying in the lyric. And I think it's a really good marriage of lyric and music. And we haven't done this. I think this is really, aside from some little ditties that we had to do in the past, this is our first major song that we ever wrote together. And people really like it. And
yeah. I wish I could play it for everybody, but it was very heartfelt. It was a nice, and it was original then. So I'm glad to hear that. You had another one as well. Was the one where you said, I want to be on TV again, that one?
Oh, I did, right.
I'm paraphrasing the title or whatever, but it was because I didn't tape the show. I'm a nice guy. I don't do that stuff, but I can't remember every little detail that was going on in there. But all I know is what I felt, and it was a lot of fun, and we had a great time. So. Well,
I enjoy parody. I like writing parodies, and so that song was a parody to Hey Santa, oh Santa, da 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 da. So that was a parody of Santa, and actually the song that Harlan and I did together, I rewrote a lot of the lyrics from the original Broadway show so that it was more pertinent to Harlan and what he does in his profession. I thought it would be much funnier if we made it more personal, made it his own, instead of what Lauren Bacall sang on Broadway.
Oh, okay. So that was her song that she was famous for doing, something like that. Lauren?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was,
and you had one of your friends get up there in a Santa suit, and you sang to Santa, and that's where basically it was. Hey Santa, I want to be back on TV. Basically,
I want a show that's on TV.
A show that's on TV. Boy, I'm butchering everything that you did there in that show. It's too bad not everybody can see that.
I find it remarkable that you remember anything. I walk out.
It left a good impression. I didn't know what to expect. We just figured, she's going to get up there and she's going to sing some songs. I was blown away by your talent, and then the talent that your brother brought to the stage. And I think a lot of us in the room were just we wanted to see Harlan perform because we hardly get to see that.
Right.
And what a treat to see everybody on stage. And there's Ben over there in the background on the side of the stage with the piano, just doing his thing. maybe mugging to the audience once, and that's about it. He's just doing his thing over there.
He's not a front man. He doesn't talk in front of an audience. He doesn't do anything. He's a very strong presence. And I've had people say to me, "Oh, Ben was so funny when he did this or that." And I said, "Ben didn't say a word." No, they invent all this stuff that he did. He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk.
Well, you do well. You're almost the Tony Tennille to his captain. So I think he doesn't speak much, or I know he's gone now, but he didn't speak a lot either.
Not very much, no.
Yeah. Well, what a wonderful treat it was to talk with you today. I'm so glad I got the chance, and it is better getting to see you in person or on face to face like this.
I agree. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I sure do. Let me see if I can recap and sum up here. A lot of the stuff you can learn about Ilene Graff is right at her site. We didn't even scratch the surface. I mean, you wrote a book with some women, I remember. You contributed to that. Like I said, you've been on TV more times than just Mr. Belvedere. You've sung on the stage more times than Grease. I mean, you were in Promises, right?
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. I think you were in Cabaret, just doing all kinds of different. You've done the whole circuit, just the way all good actresses like to do, and all that can be on her site, IleneGraff.com. Check it out. Check her out. I never know how to say goodbye gracefully. I don't want to. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm very thankful that you took the time to do this with me. I really appreciate it, Ilene. So thank you.
Thank you, Dean. I wish you health and security and safety and joy, and just keep doing the things that you love to do.
Okay, thank you. For everybody watching, I'm going to say goodbye right now. And as soon as I say goodbye, I'm going to say one thing to Ilene off the air. So thank you, Ilene. Really appreciate it. Have a great day today.
Bye.